It would seem as though.
Hi, it's me.
Hola, chica. It would seem as though that we're back for another episode of the podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Nothing. But today...
Something.
You're something.
You're something.
That's cute. Anyway,
I'm Vesta.
Oh my god. And I'm over your bullshit. I'm Annika.
Yeah.
That's the shorthand version of
Over your bullshit?
Annika. Yep.
Well, you wouldn't be the first person to tell me you're over my bullshit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Probably not even the first person like this month. I don't know. We're not very far in talk. Maybe the first person this month. Speaking of this month, it is October.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. It is also Hispanic Heritage Month. Look, I said it that time without stumbling over the words. Mm-hmm. Good Lord, I don't know what is wrong with me, but I mean, other than old age and stuff.
Yeah.
But here we are. Mm-hmm. You know, and speaking of Hispanic Heritage Month, I want to talk about something that is coming up, which is the Dia de las Muertes.
Yeah.
Or the Day of the Dead.
Muertos. Yeah.
Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah.
Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
Which is the day after Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be in November.
Days.
It's the first and the 2nd of November. When families celebrate their loved ones, they put something called an ofrenda, which is just an offering table, which has oftentimes like the favorite foods of these people, photographs, different things. And one of the things I thought was really cool, because I've known about it for a very long time, even though it is not of my culture. I learned some stuff that had nothing to do with white people. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I thought was really cool is as they are celebrating their loved ones, it's a joyful celebration. It's not mournful.
No.
It is not. They don't get together and cry, but they tell funny stories, and they sing songs that are often what people might consider irreverent to make everybody, have a good laugh and remember these people in the best possible way.
It's literally the entirety of the plot of Coco.
It is.
It's Coco.
Except what you don't really see in Coco is that as they get together to celebrate the family, it's joyful.
Yeah.
Because I think most people think, oh, you're celebrating the dead. Oh, it's tragic, it's sad, it's mournful.
It's always so weird to me, though. Like, yeah, you can be sad, but it's like you're celebrating somebody. Why are you going to be sad? How are you celebrating sad, bitch? Who are you?
Right. Well, exactly. And so I thought that was really cool. I love the idea of getting together for a feast and, talking about all these people who you've loved and lost and whatever, and telling funny stories. Because I know for a fact all the people that I have lost that I actually cared about, there's funny shit.
Yeah.
I like to tell those stories at the funeral or the memorial.
Hell yeah.
Because, it's like everybody's weeping and wailing, and I'm like, yeah, but do you remember this? Because that's, I think, how I would want to be remembered. I want people to... I know I told you this a long time ago, but I went to a funeral where everything was so false. Yeah. It's like, oh, this woman was just the best person ever. No, she was awful.
No.
She was horrible. So I want people at my funeral to get together and be like,
hell yeah,
this bitch.
Yep.
Please.
I remember...
She was a know-it-all. She was this, she was that. Whatever. I mean, whatever you felt...
Oh, girl.
Be truthful.
Don't you worry. I will be truthful. I'll be like, no. No one else gets to say a goddamn word. You'll listen
first.
To me.
I'm first.
Me first.
I had to put up with that bitch forever.
I remember going to a funeral when I was in high school. It was one of my best friends, and it was really tragic, obviously. But what I thought was worse was that these bitches showed up who didn't like her. You know what I mean? And
I hate that.
And then they are at the casket crying, and I'm like, ooh, I'm about to rock this bitch. I'm about to put my hair up and knock a girl out right here because
which one of you wants to go in the casket with her?
Yeah, girl, because
I'm gonna take you down.
How dare you? Yeah, I remember feeling angry.
The very first funeral I ever went to was a boy that I had known since first grade.
Okay.
And I was a junior in high school.
Wow.
And he got killed in a car accident. And I wouldn't even say we were friends. We were friendly. I had known him since I'm 6. I mean, if we saw each other, we'd say hi. You know, we didn't hang out or anything.
Yeah.
But I went to his funeral. I was friends with a couple of his sisters. And I was really... Because they said to everybody at school, if you want to go to the funeral, you can have the day off school.
And you're all bad.
Everybody in the school practically...
Yeah.
I'm all...
Girl.
Didn't none of y'all even know him, like him? Because he was not one of the popular kids.
Yep.
But so that just pissed me off.
Yep.
And I'm all, really, don't be fake. Don't go to... I mean, if you have to go because it's like your aunt and your family's expecting you and that whatever, which I still don't think you have to go. But that's one thing. But to go because I'm like, oh, I'm going to make a show of... This isn't about you.
No, right?
No. But speaking of death... I just learned just now, as Annika just got here, that the legend Angela Lansbury died.
Yeah.
97 years old.
Here I am, bringing the good news with me.
The good news. I know, 97. That's amazing. First time I remember seeing her was in a movie, old movie, called Till the Clouds Roll By, which was a movie about songwriter Jerome Kearns. Anyway, and she did this song with a super strong Cockney accent.
Okay.
Called How'd You Like to Spoon With Me? And then, of course, Bed Knobs and Broomsticks.
That's going to be my pickup line from here on out.
How'd you like to spoon with me? But you have to do it in a Cockney accent. Because otherwise it's just no good. Because if you say, how would you like... No.
First of all, would I ever say, how would you like to? Do I speak like that? I don't speak like that. How dare you?
But of course, Murder, She Wrote, and many other things.
She wrote those murders.
If you want to check her out, though, in a movie that will chill you to the bones, watch The Manchurian Candidate. She is a bitch. Which is so funny because usually we see her playing this wonderful, loving character.
Wasn't she Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast?
She was Mrs. Potts
in Beauty and the Beast.
And she was way too old to have a son, Chip, who was like 6, because you were like 60.
Okay, listen, it's fine. It's animated. It's
what am I saying? I'm 60 and I have a 12-year-old.
Yeah, so, Gaite, it's fine. You're doing great. You and Angela Lansbury making the choices.
Another person I wanted to mention was Judy Tenuta, who many of you probably won't know.
I don't know.
Judy Tenuta, hilarious comedian, super weird. Played the accordion as she told jokes, and apparently lied about her age up until she told her people, it's okay to tell my real age after I die.
Hey,
because she pretended to be about a decade younger than she was, because mostly of being a woman in show business and just getting hired is hard enough, but being an older woman, so she shaved a decade off her age. So she was 72. One of my favorite Judy Tenuta lines, well, a couple things, is in one of her specials at the end of it, she's like, I just want to thank sports, because without sports we wouldn't have football, and without football we wouldn't have brain damage, and without brain damage none of you would be here today. But she also said she started her own religion of people who worship her, Judaism.
You know what? I'm about it.
Yeah, I love it. Louise Fletcher also passed. She passed in September, but I missed that somehow. But she, Oscar-winning actress who played the ever-popular Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Nurse Ratched.
The OG. Oh, my God. Well, which is funny because, that has become the term for a bad nurse. It's like, God, Nurse Ratched,
Yeah.
And so anybody, if you have a really bad nurse, they're referred to as Nurse Ratched, because she was genius in her portrayal of the most awful, evil nurse.
That movie, though, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, is a hard one to watch in general.
Yes. Yeah. And it was filmed right here in Oregon.
I know. Lucky us.
And by the way, in case any of you hear me say Oregon, I really do know it's pronounced Oregon. I've lived here my whole life.
Listen. There's a place in Ohio, and it's spelled Oregon, but they pronounce it Oregon. And I
Oregon,
said,
Ohio?
Girl, I swear to God. Yeah, I will burn this town to the ground, and then you'll call it nothing. Do you hear me?
Nothing, Ohio.
Yeah, well, isn't that just like all of Ohio?
I'm pretty sure Ohio's not even real.
I know. If I haven't been there...
it doesn't exist for me.
Yeah. It doesn't, for me, not part of my reality.
And besides, I just think cornfields and farms and whatever, and
white people.
No reason for me to... And white people. Lots and lots of white people.
White.
Also, Cherry Valentine who was one of the drag queens on season 2 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK, died. She's 28 years old. There is a very fascinating documentary about her. I think it's on WoW Presents. Okay. It's about her life as a traveler, which, in case you don't know, are the people who formerly referred to as gypsies. Ugh. But we don't use that term gypsy anymore.
No, ma'am.
And if you do, stop it. But I love the term traveler. I think it just has a much nicer ring to it. Another term for that is also Romas, because many people are of the Romani.
Yep. That's cute though. Sidebar: traveler. If you watch like any kind of fantasy, big epic, they usually call there's like usually a class of people or like a tribe of people or whatever who are wanderers,
right? Like nomadic.
Yeah, very much that, and they it's very much what people would consider the Romani people or the G slur, with like their caravans of people with like wagons and So a lot of fantasy have that, and they're usually called the travelers.
But yeah, because in the documentary it talks about growing up in the traveler community and being queer was absolutely it was no bueno. It was very frowned upon, and when she left to live her own life, didn't feel like she could return to her family because of how stigmatized it is being a traveler and being queer. And then, of course, being a drag queen on top of it, just forget about it. And so that was really, really very fascinating. If you had a chance to watch it, you should watch it. But I was just very sad that she died. I thought she was she had this very sparkling personality, this big laugh.
What did she die of?
I don't know. They have not yet released that.
That's sad.
So, yeah.
Well, here's my news. I almost died.
I know. We did talk about last week that you had the COVID in your household.
Yeah. And
then you got the COVID.
Yeah. So, I went to work on a Friday morning and didn't feel good. So I went home and took a test and guess who had COVID? And it's always like, wait 30 minutes, right? Girl, I spit on it or whatever you do. And it immediately 2 lines showed up and I'm like, God damn it, I'm pregnant. No, I was like, fuck. I am fucking
wrong
COVID.
stick.
Right. And I was very upset because I'm very diligent. I wear a mask at work. You know what I mean? I don't do anything. I'm vaccinated. I've done all the things to try and not get COVID. And then I got COVID. And it
ended up being a super spreader. Good job.
I know. And then I was like, hey, and just spread it to everyone. I was like, do you want some COVID? I got COVID on supply, bitch. No, I didn't
give you a hot cup of COVID and then I'm going home.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Job done.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, but it wasn't so bad. I mean, it just felt like the flu mostly. Everything hurt and...
Right, but that's also because you're vaccinated. So, because I know I've known a couple of people, maybe 2 people who were vaccinated and got it severely.
Yeah.
Most of the people I know, if they got it when they were vaccinated, had it and it felt like the flu, or some people barely felt like anything. They had a little cough and it's like, maybe I better check that, and it turns out to be COVID.
I have a friend who is asymptomatic towards it, and feels nothing, feels fine. And he was like, the reason I know that I have COVID is because my knees hurt. And I said, what? That's it? I'm going to slap you in the face. Bitch, my knees hurt all the time. I'm old. Right. What the fuck you mean?
You're old. Speaking of that, I know it's just random, and my brain is so full of random nonsense where just a thought will come to my head and I'm like, why is that there? I was watching something, and they were talking about class reunions and blah, blah, blah. And I started thinking about because my class reunion would have been in 2020.
Okay.
Which, bad year for any kind of party. And I never have gone to any of them. But that would have been my 40-year class reunion, right? Which got me to thinking that in just a few short years, had you graduated high school, it would be your 20-year class reunion.
How dare you? First of all, how dare you just say all those evil things to me just now?
Had you graduated high school?
Yeah, that's so disrespectful. No,
I'm sorry.
I don't really care. I have no shame about anything. It's not me.
You dropped out and became a whore, so...
Oh my god. Okay, well, if we're just gonna...
I mean, you didn't drop out to become a whore.
Listen, if we're gonna condense my life story down, I dropped out of high school to be a whore. Wow. I mean, okay. But I mean, look at me now. Look at me now. I'm getting all the education, girl. I'm like,
I know.
Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Now
Yum,
you're,
yum, yum.
you know, in your 12th year of college.
Oh, how dare you? Kind of. It feels that way. Bitch is just going to insult me. I'm sitting here in a mask, like,
I know.
fatigued from COVID, and you're just going to insult me, kick me while I'm down? How fucking dare you?
Yeah. I'm sorry, did you expect something different?
Not really.
Not really, no. I was like, if I all of a sudden was like, oh, precious pumpkin,
I should have canceled today.
Started treating you with kid gloves, you'd be like, bitch, what are you doing?
I know, don't.
Am I dying? Did you hear something? I don't know.
Right?
But the only other thing I really kind of want to talk about before we got to our main topic today, or as I said last week, when we talk about what we're going to talk about, I was listening to a podcast that I very much enjoy, which is very Delta. It was very that, and then Raja is on leave for a while, and now it's just very Delta with Delta Work, who I adore. Anyway, but she was on. She is a Chicano queen, and had on one of her friends who was also Latino, because it's a boy, Latino. Anyway, but they were talking about code switching, which you hear a lot about code switching in like the black community.
Yeah.
People talking in a way that white people don't feel threatened because they have to do that because, you know, white people are so fragile. But code switching in the queer community is more like if you talk gay, as they say, you know, it's like, oh, you sound gay. Well, it's like...
Yep. The gay list.
The gay list or whatever. Well, because they were both talking about how if they go through a drive-through, they'll put in their order and they'll be, thank you, ma'am. And it's like, what, ma'am? So they both, when they get to deepen their voice and try to sound much more masculine.
Yeah.
And I watched this entire documentary that was called, I think it's called Do I Sound Gay?
Yeah. Oh,
Did
yeah.
you watch
yeah.
that? It was fascinating. But it was about the whole thing of how some people just have that sound, have that certain quality or lilt to their voice that you're like, well, yes, as a matter of fact, you do sound gay.
A lot of the time, too, it has to do with how you were raised. Because in that same documentary, there were men who were raised by like only women. And so they just like picked up how women spoke mostly.
Yes.
And so it's not like, oh, you're homosexual. It's just like, sometimes it's just like a feminized way to speak. And that's a lot of times it has to do with your environment and your surroundings. It's like a learned behavior. How you learn, that's why people have accents. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's a learned behavior, how to speak. But code switching, sometimes I feel the same way because how I talk to people, like at school or in a professional setting or at work, I'm very different than when I talk to most anyone else. I speak in curse words and slang. And at work, I have, in you know, an environment where I have to be like better than everyone else. I don't. So, yeah, and I do it often. You know, just
because when I'm at home, when I'm if I'm in a queer setting, it's all curse words and slang and sarcasm and whatever. Whereas when I'm at work, it's like, you know, I'm this professional lady.
Are you?
Well.
Mostly. I've been to work with you.
No, that's true.
What's funny is that when you're at work, you're professional, and when I'm at your work, I am not.
That is true. That is true. But who cares? It's not your work.
No, hell no.
No, I know, but it's like if I have what I like to refer to at my work, I have gay days where like all I have that day are all gay clientele, which makes my life so great that day.
Yeah, it's
Because I'm like, all I have are queer people, so I don't have to do anything. It's like I can talk like how I want to.
As freely.
You know, and I love that. And my friend Bill, when he comes in, we're just like...
Mr. Bill Hinckley?
Yes, Mr. Bill Hinckley. We're loud and gossipy and bitchy and judgmental.
Well, first of all,
and all of those things that I love.
You're loud alone. And then Bill is loud alone. So together...
Well, and when I'm at work, though, I'm usually not loud.
Sonic boom.
I try to keep it kind of... Since I'm in a room with a space for other people and it's kind of close.
Rolling my eyes to the back
I know you are, but it is true. I try to keep it down. You know.
I'm glad that you put in the effort.
Yeah, well, I try. I do try. But then I have people like Bill who...
We're just going to drag Bill today.
Who just, you know, when we're together, we get to just yucking it up and talking shit about people.
Yeah.
I know. And it's one of my favorite things to do. If I had to point to, I think what was probably my biggest flaws is that I'm a judgmental bitch. And I like to talk shit about you. I love to gossip.
It's funny. I was just telling someone about our podcast, and they're like, "What's it called?" I'm like, "Are you sure you want to listen to it?" Like, I have very big opinions, and we just talk shit about everybody,
everyone,
and everything. Yeah. And I'm like, "Get ready. I'm a radical, bitch. I'm a radical. I'm crazy."
Yes, you are. Because our topic today is Halloween.
Yeah, which I feel like...
let me do it again. Our topic today is Halloween.
Oh my god. The sound effects of this show are like top
I spent dollars for this sound effects machine.
I love
By the way, I love that my little sound effect is called a sound machine.
Yes, it is.
And it is smaller than my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Machine?
I
think that's generous.
What else would it be?
I think it's funny. I'm going to share this. I think it's gross, but when my children are imitating your dog, they're like, "This is what Mixie sounds like."
It's true.
So Mixie is Annika's 1,000-year-old pug.
Yeah.
Who has, 2 teeth left in her head?
She has about 2 teeth, and her skin is just now sagging off of her. Her little butt droops.
She's like the alien in the first Men in Black wearing the what was his name? The whatever suit.
I don't remember. I'm
wearing the human suit.
Yeah,
where it was all just baggy on.
Yeah, and she's like a traditional looking pug, so she's lighter coat with black hair,
right, tan and black.
But now she's all white because she doesn't wear black left in her. She's like wall-eyed, and she she just burps and farts and sneezes. And half the time, you'll just pick her up, be like, "Go outside," and she'll just "Oh, you're right there. It just fell out of me. You don't need to go outside anymore."
Oh, I just pooped while I was sitting here.
I know. She's like a 13-year-old. When you think of having a 13-year-old, you don't think of them just shitting themselves all the time. But
no,
I guess when you're a tiny little pug, you can help it.
Yes, but we're going to talk about Halloween. What's funny to me is when we decided we were going to talk about Halloween, I started thinking about something that I worked in a queer bar for 20 years, and Halloween was the one night of the year I never wanted to work.
Oh,
because Halloween, though the queer community in general loves Halloween.
Yeah.
Drag queens don't want to do drag on Halloween and don't want to be in a drag bar on Halloween because it is what we refer to as amateur night.
Yeah.
When all of these people are like, "I'm going to go out in drag my first time and blah, 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 and I'm going to go to the club and I'm going to be all snatchy and think that I'm everything," and it's like walking up to seasoned queens and being all like, "Oh, I'm so pretty and I'm so whatever," and it's like, bitch, you look a hot mess because you're wearing a wonky eyelash and, about an ounce of makeup, and cover girl, don't cover boy. So,
bitch,
get it together. And don't come for me.
Girl.
I remember this one queen came up to me one night and was talking shit to me. It's like, "Why do you wear so much makeup?" And I'm like, "Because I'm appearing on stage under stage lights."
Are you new?
I said, "You're wearing so little makeup that as soon as the stage lights hit you, you look like you're wearing nothing other than a beard, because I can see your beard right through it." And I was like, I don't have a beard to cover, and I still wear a shit ton of makeup because I want to make sure that you can see my features from the back of the room.
You should look at people's faces who are on Broadway. You know what I mean? Or on stage.
They wear a ridiculous amount of makeup.
Their makeup up close is scary.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
And I'm going to tell you something about getting into drag on Halloween. Because my good friend Selwyn, one year for Halloween...
Oh, Selwyn.
He wanted to be a Dor Delano. That's when she was just on Drag Race. And my love for Dor Delano. And so I was like... And he asked me...
I'm from Azusa, bitch.
Exactly. Asked me if I would help him. And so if you're going to get in drag, this is my point. Find a girlfriend who can turn you out. Do you know what I mean? Find someone...
Preferably a theater major or someone who worked at the Mac counter.
But I mean, and I feel like if you were going to go out and you need a specific makeup look, I had to change that bitch's face to look like a Dor Delano. Do you know what I mean? Ask somebody who knows what they're doing. Don't just be like, "Look at me," and then look all busted, bitch. Look like a motherfucking mud fence ass bitch. You dumbass bitch. What you doing?
Wow. I know, because... Now it's so much easier because with everybody can watch the YouTube tutorials and all the different queens who do
Good
their
on you.
makeup, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And if you can learn how to do it that way, love it.
Girl, love it.
But still, if you're your first night drag, don't come for
No,
anyone
no.
else thinking you're all that.
Halloween is supposed to be a fun time. It's like it's the night for like the weirdos and the queers and everyone to like let loose, and you're gonna be a dumb cunt about it. Like,
Yeah,
how about don't ruin the high holy day, you stupid bitch.
Right. I was looking up a little information on Halloween, or All Hallows Eve, or as it's less commonly known, All Halloween. But it's also All Saints Eve, All Hallows Eve.
Yeah.
It's a celebration observed in many countries on the 31st of October, or the eve of Western Christian feast of All Hallows Day. And it begins the observance of All Hallow Tide, which is the time in the liturgical year, did I say that? Dedicated to remembering the dead, including saints or hallows, martyrs, and the departed. So hallows, All Hallows is All Saints.
Yeah.
I didn't ever realize that hallows was another word for saints.
No, me either.
But that was one of the... And I read that and I was like, oh, that's really cool. But in other countries, they believe that the origin is Celtic.
Yeah.
And in other countries, they have really interesting
Yeah.
things that they do. I mean, here, of course, it has been whited up so much that they've taken out all the flavor and all of the spice and all the interest. It's like, I'm going to just go beg for candy from strangers.
Okay, I don't want you to knock Halloween. Traditional Halloween and like my growing up Halloween, I just remember thinking like I'm so nostalgic for that. Do you know what I mean? That's like watching like the original Hocus Pocus. Like that is very nostalgic to me. You know, like things like that. Halloween, traditional Halloween for me, even though it is just Americanized, it's like my favorite fucking holiday. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, I like all the stuff that goes with it. I like, the decorations. And I like the kind of the spooky stuff. I like that.
Yeah.
I can no longer really, as we've talked about before, I can't really do scary movies, but I like spooky movies.
Yeah.
And I like anything that has to do with ghosts.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff.
But I love the dress up and everyone's together.
Yes.
Halloween parties are like the best parties. Ugh.
But here's what I can't do. Here's what really, from the time I'm a kid till now.
Okay.
If someone comes up to me in a mask and I don't know who you are, like if you came in wearing a mask, that's fine because I know who you are. But if it's a stranger, it freaks me out.
I get that.
Because I can't see your face.
Yeah,
I don't know who you are. I don't know what your intention is.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's like I've seen too many, scary movies where the villain or the whatever is wearing a mask and you can't see their face.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Nope. No thanks.
No thanks. And my son just showed me this ad. He's like, I wanted to buy this mask from Amazon, and it only covers you from like the cheeks down, but it's this horrifying like skeletal jaw of I don't know, like a cat or like a tiger or something. Like, okay, but that's gonna be terrifying.
Hell yeah.
So, do you remember like your first Halloween costume? Or not maybe your first, but what's the first one you really remember?
So, I remember when I was younger, so I just remember I always wanted to be like a witch. I always wanted to be like a magical person, right? And so
of course.
Most years for Halloween, I was either something like the undead, but like a vampire, or I was usually just like a magical practitioner. So, bitch, I had like these... the little puffy stickers that you could, like, stick on your ears?
Yeah, of course.
I had those, like, on my face and glitter. So I didn't look evil by any means, girl. I was all, like, fabulous. I was like, I'm gonna hex you. I was like Sailor Moon.
Lisa Frank witch.
Bitch, I was like Sailor Moon, like, just spinning my hair and shit, being like, I'm gonna hex you. But I didn't.
I want to hex you, but I'm not gonna because I'm nice.
Yeah. Or I was, like, a skeleton or something. I was never anything, like... It was just... For me, it was, like, tradish. For me, it was the tradition.
Yeah.
But, my favorite... Wait, sorry. What were you? What was your first? Do you remember your first?
I don't remember my first.
Yeah.
I remember that... now, you gotta remember Halloween growing up for me. Whole different era. Whole different world.
Yeah.
And kind of commonly, and I hate to say this, but commonly, the costumes that adults made for their children if they didn't go out... Because costumes were not really a thing other than those ones that you buy where it was this plastic costume with a plastic mask that might last through the night, but we still loved them and wanted them but could never afford them. So the people who made costumes did either a hobo, very PC, a gypsy fortune teller. Or so it's like all these things that now you're just like...
An Indian.
They're cringy. Yeah,
right.
Or whatever. And I remember one year, I think I was 10, and this is the first one I really remember. I was 10, and I'm like, I want to be a princess. Mm-hmm. So I'm wearing this long dress that I think was my mother's. But I think it was just like, because it was stretchy. Because, she's tiny. And I was not.
Right.
But a dress and a wig and whatever. I didn't have a tiara, so I was just like, I'm a princess. And everywhere I went, people were like, how come you didn't dress up? I did. I'm a princess.
That's so funny.
And I do, however, remember as an adult, Halloweens where I dressed up in things that I now realize are not okay.
Yeah.
Like the Halloween I went to work dressed as a geisha.
Okay.
And I'm like, you're white, so not okay.
So you went in whiteface is what I'm hearing?
Yes. I did. I went in full.
Yes.
Yeah, I wore a kimono and an obi and white face, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Black hair all done up and an updo with chopsticks in it. Oh yeah, I was just shitting all over someone else's culture.
Fuck it up, you racist
I
asshole.
did. Well, I didn't know any better. I know better now.
I know.
You know what else I know?
What?
I'm gonna take a break.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Sidebar, before you say a single goddamn word,
wow. Okay.
I just got an update on my phone that
Yeah.
says that there's obviously unseasonably warm weather here, as we know that.
Clearly.
But it says that it's about to scorch the Pacific Northwest. What does that mean? How hot
It's
is
October. How is it going to scorch anything?
I don't know.
What does that even mean?
No, okay, that can't be true. Is it coming up? Like, is that going to ruin my whole life? Because let me tell you something. I am sick of it.
Well, yeah. I mean,
okay, it's in the 70s until the 17th.
Well, how is that scorching the Northwest?
I know,
Is it
girl.
just because we're not getting any rain?
I guess. I don't know. And it's I don't know.
I don't know either.
Anyway, so we're
So
not
we were
weather
talking
people.
about costumes, and I'm no longer doing things that are culturally insensitive. I've learned. I am going to tell you, though, as an adult, my favorite costume that I ever did. And somebody recently, and by recently I mean in the last several years, sent me a photo of me dressed as Wednesday Addams.
Oh my god, okay.
And so adult, and I went to, it was a coronation and the theme was Halloween.
Yeah.
And so I went as Wednesday Addams and one of my friends, unbeknownst to me, went as Pugsley.
Yes.
And she literally was a full foot shorter than me.
Yeah.
So I'm like towering over her. But I did the whole look, I'm all in black.
Yeah.
And I put extensions on so I could braid my hair. And did my makeup very, very pale and pasty.
Yep.
And I bought a doll at a thrift shop that was, a couple bucks. But a big stuffed, like a soft doll. But it was like, bigger size because I'm not going to carry some little, because I'm a grown-ass woman. So a little doll would look stupid. So I got this bigger, hacked her head off. And then just sewed up her neck so stuffing wasn't going everywhere. When it was all over, I did sew her head back on.
I love that.
And I don't know whatever happened to Mrs. Livingston, but I had her for quite a while.
What is so funny is that my favorite Halloween costume that I've ever done was Morticia Addams.
That is funny.
And I was so about it. I spent months finding the right dress, the right, hair. I practiced.
And you looked phenomenal.
Thank you. I practiced my makeup over and over because I had, I'm already pale, but I wanted it to be, Morticia, gray pale, And I did my and obviously as Angelica Houston, because I feel like we look more similar than me and
Carolyn Adams.
her.
Carolyn Jones, excuse me. Carolyn
Jones.
Jones.
But
Morticia Addams is played by Carolyn Jones.
Right. But I loved it, and I practiced so much, and that was one of the years I had a Halloween party, and I was like, I never wanted to take it off. It was my fucking favorite. But in my real life, Morticia Addams is my icon.
Well, yeah, because she's amazing and she's beautiful.
And she's everything I want to be.
And she's very, very weird, which I love.
And she's just elegant. Anyway, but yeah, that's my favorite. Absolutely, hands down. I would go as Morticia. I would just live as Morticia, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when people, and this is sidebar, when people talk about hate all men, no one is ever talking about Gomez Addams because that man worships the fuck out of his wife. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, man, if you want to be better, be Gomez Addams.
Yeah.
He may be macabre, but he is what does it.
It's funny to me. I remember watching the movie Now and Then, and one of the characters was sad because her parents were getting divorced. And she's like, I just want to be normal like, people on TV. And her friend is like, let's look at the families on TV. It's like the Brady Bunch. They're both widowers. Family Affair. The dad's a widower. She's going through this list, and they're all widowed or widowers or whatever. Is that the only normal families who are two parents and who are married? The Addams Family and the Munsters and Bewitched.
Yeah.
So the normal people are the freaks and the weirdos.
Of course.
But they're married, happily married, love each other, adore each other.
Hell yeah.
It's like, okay. I do love that in the Munsters that they were all monsters, and, the blonde, normal-looking girl that lived there was the one who was the weirdo.
I know. I love that. Speaking of that, I know we talked about the Munsters and how we both just watched it. And I was very let down by it. I
tried to watch it. It was terrible.
Yeah, it is so bad.
I mean, I couldn't get through it. I got about a half an hour in, and I was like, I don't want to waste my time watching this because I'm sure there's some other show that...
It was so bad.
It was bad.
And,
the story was bad. The acting was bad.
Yes.
It was bad.
And honestly, what's her name? Sherry Moon Zombie, Rob Zombie's wife who plays Lily.
Oh, right.
Her affected voice made me want to punch her in the goddamn face. I was like, you don't sound like this, and nobody sounds like this, and it makes me crazy.
No, it was
so bad.
It was bad. So in case you missed it, it was bad. Don't watch it. It was bad. I mean, if you want to watch a Halloween movie, go watch Halloween Town.
Oh my god, I love Halloween Town.
I do too. I did not ever watch Halloween Town.
Right.
It hit at a time when it wasn't really kind of my...
Well, listen, it was on the Disney Channel, and it was like a Disney Channel movie.
Yes.
And they were all the time, right? They always came out with a new one. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know why you...
They were filmed here in Portland, in St. John's, actually.
St. Helens, I thought?
St. John's? St. Helens?
Because it's the pumpkin, it's St. Helens.
Okay, okay. Starring one of my favorite people of all time, Miss Debbie Reynolds.
Yes, ma'am.
But I finally watched it just a couple of years ago. So my sister was talking about it because she watched it with her babies, and now she's watching it with her grandbabies. But I was like, okay, well, I'm going to give it a shot because it's Debbie Reynolds. How bad? It's so cute.
It's so cute. Have you seen?
I've only seen the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not seen the second, or aren't there three?
Three. Yeah.
Yeah. But I have not, and now, of course, Miss Debbie Reynolds is gone. But
I know. Well, now you can't watch it.
Oh my god! I know this is off topic, but I have to talk about it anyway.
Okay.
Because last night I was watching this movie called That's Entertainment.
Okay.
And it was a movie made in 1972 to celebrate the first 50 years of MGM.
Okay.
And MGM was most known for its musicals.
Right.
Okay. And so they're showing clips from musicals from the beginning of the studio when it was still black and white, but they were not black and white. Yes, black and white, but silent.
Okay.
But they started really with the beginning of the talkies and stuff. I had to shut it off after a particularly offensive video where it was a movie. I didn't even get what the movie was, but it was Judy Garland and all of the men. It was a Busby Berkeley musical. If you don't know who that is, look it up. Busby Berkeley did these amazing giant production numbers that could never happen in real life. But all of the men behind her were white men painted in blackface. And I was like,
Jesus Christ.
Oh dear God. And I was kind of in and out because I was watching it in bed, snuggling with the dog. And I was just kind of, and I opened my eyes and I'm like, oh no.
Oh no.
Granted, this movie came out 50 years ago.
I don't give a...
And the movie that they were showing the clip of was like 30 or 40 years before that.
Oh my God.
But I was still horrified because I was just like, oh God. How could anybody ever think that was a good thing?
I mean, honestly. I don't know. And people always say things like, oh, well, like wanting to dress as a native person or wear something that isn't their culture. And they'd be like, well, I respect it. If you respect it, then don't do it. But when you put that on, you're just making a mockery. And when you do fucking blackface, how you portray yourself is not in any way respectful towards black people.
Well, no, and blackface started in minstrel shows.
Yeah.
And last year when I was watching White Christmas, And one of the songs is about how much they miss the minstrel shows.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
Well, and I don't think, but here's what I will say is like being a minstrel show is just like an entertaining song and dance, right? It wasn't necessarily always blackface, but that is where it started. Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
But, you know, we're getting miles and miles away from
Whatever.
our topic. But that's okay. One of the things I thought was kind of interesting is a tradition in Europe for Halloween is called souling.
Ooh.
And it's part of the whole. Folks are going around singing, and they're like singing. Yeah, I don't know what they're singing, but they're going with musical instruments and singing songs that are kind of in a lamenting tone, right? But they would use musical instruments like a concertina, and this is in the late 1800s.
Okay.
And they were sung by boys in what was called a Harrogate, who were running beside carriages begging. So, which is kind of how they asking for candy. But as you were singing, you were also wanting people to feed you. The custom of souling ceased relatively early, but I lost my place. I'm sorry, I'm reading that part. But that's how it became. That was when it was called All Souls Day.
Okay.
But yeah, they would walk around singing, and people would give them food, give them different treats, and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting.
Right? I think one of the most interesting things I heard, I don't know where this came from, I didn't look it up because I don't want to. If you want to look it up, go for it.
Do research for our show? Why would I do that?
I don't know. I'm just talking. But people dress up. Well, there was like a belief, allegedly, and I bet it's like puritanical, but that, you know, like because the veil is so thin, people dress up, so then you don't, so you don't know who's who, right? Like everyone will seem like a ghost. Everyone will seem like the dead.
I see.
Does that make sense? So like,
yeah.
It's a way to be. It's like that's like trick or treat. It's trickery, right?
Well, that is one of the things that the Celts believed, that the night before the new year, or the new liturgical year, was the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became very blurred.
Yeah.
And on the night of October 31st, they were celebrating Samhain, when it is believed that the ghosts are dead and returned to Earth.
Samhain.
Is that how it's pronounced?
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking at it and pronounced it as it appears.
Yeah, because it's spelled S-A-M-H.
Samhain.
Samhain. Samhain. Yep.
But yeah, it is like, I mean, I've been hearing for years, you know, that Halloween is the night where the veil between the living and the dead is the thinnest, and whatever. And I know that is one of the reasons that so many Christians, like churches and whatever, they'll have a party at their church that is a harvest party, not Halloween.
Yeah.
It's a harvest thing or whatever, because, you know, if it's the night of the ghosts and souls, whatever, then obviously it's evil and it's bad. It's like, wouldn't these just be the souls of people that you loved who are now dead?
And like, that's the weirdest thing.
It's not demons and whatever, it's just souls of dead folks.
That's why I think, like, not necessarily I ever want to go back to like a simpler time, because that's like, you know, that's code for racism. Anyway, but like, you know, go back to like when harvesting, not that I want to do that either, but you know, it was harvest, like it was a harvest, right? And like, just because all these things overlap doesn't make it bad or scary. People are just stupid. And like, why are you so afraid of the death? Listen, there's like one thing guaranteed in literally everybody's life. You're gonna die. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. That's literally it. The only fucking thing that's guaranteed is that you're gonna die. I know it sounds like, oh, sad macabre, but nothing else. You don't have to do literally anything else. You have to do nothing else. And people are like, well, taxes. Yeah, but...
Yeah, you don't even have to do that.
No.
I mean, you'll probably go to jail, or
like,
go live off the grid somewhere.
Exactly. What if you disappear? You know what I mean? What if you live off the grid? What if you move to a different country? Like, you know what I mean? Things are different. And I just don't think that... I don't know. People put too much stock in death, you know?
Well, you know, and I think because, and I know we've talked about this before, death was just considered a part of life, and people talked about it most freely until really the Victorian era, where it became like taboo. You didn't talk about it because Queen Victoria mourned the loss of her husband for 1,000 years, and it's like, bitch, get over it. He's dead. He ain't coming back. I mean, it's like, you know, whatever. But I do think it's interesting that people like Queen Victoria and other people who came across as being very like buttoned up and very whatever. So many of them tried to get in touch with the dead. They tried,
I know,
to have people summon the dead.
Okay.
And,
well, that was a thing, right? Back in the day. And it was a lot. I mean, it was in, like, New England, but it was also just over in Britain land.
Sure, Britain land.
Seances were huge. And they would have, like, like practitioners. They always call it something else. But, like, they would have them come and just, the aristocratic people doing a seance. And that's where they got, like, ectoplasm,
yes.
stuff coming out of their mouths, and they were like channeling shit, but people were trying to fuck with it pretty hard back in like Victorian age because they wanted to like see if they could. That's also when they were taking like death portraits and shit and like posing people, like I'm dead, but here's my last portrait.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that to me, I'm like, that's cool. I'll take that part of your society because that's crazy.
Right. My friend David, who works at an antique store but also has his own little booth.
Yeah. He
told me that his most popular item that when he gets them in sells out immediately are death portraits.
I love that.
And I'm like, it's interesting, but I'm not sure why I would want portraits of somebody else's dead family.
I don't really want portraits of my dead family, to be honest.
No. I mean, and we're not talking about portraits of them when they're living. We're talking about portraits of them as they are dead.
Yep.
And I remember when we watched the movie The Others.
Yep.
Seeing the death portraits and whatever. And it was, as you mentioned, it was a commonality. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure why, but it just seems weird. Especially since then, taking a picture was such an ordeal. It wasn't like it is now, click, click, you're done.
Well, and
you had to hold the thing for, of course you didn't have to worry about them
hours.
moving.
Yeah.
But, you had to hold it because the shutter speed was so slow that it took quite a while to take a photograph.
Yeah. I know. I can't. That's just too much, man. I don't want portraits of dead people.
No.
I mean, do I? I guess it'd be fine. I don't really want portraits of you dead. That would be like too exciting for me. Could you imagine that'd be me.
And here's what she looked like on her last day.
Ooh.
Well, I guess it's after her last day because she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's creepy.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
No, thank you.
Anyway.
Just seeing people who are dead is weird. I mean, I've gotten used to it over time, and the more I've gone to like do hair and stuff at the funeral home. But what's weird to me...
What a cute family we have.
I know. What's weird to me is that person no longer resembles who... And for me, like, going to funerals and stuff, because as I've mentioned, I've been to so many funerals.
Yeah.
I look at that person going, who is that?
Who did that?
Because it doesn't feel like the same person to me anymore. Because what made them is gone. Their spirit or their soul. And that is gone, and now it's just this empty vehicle.
I remember not the first time, but when my friend, the one I talked about at the funeral earlier, when I went to her funeral, it was open casket. And I was invited to go to the viewing beforehand because I knew her dad. And it was weird because, like, somebody who is alive, first of all, and they're, like, gregarious and fun, and then they're just laying there. It was very different. She didn't even look like herself. Even though, like, our friends did her makeup, and it looked like her makeup. It was not her. And I think when your husband started working at, like, when he started to be a mortician, funeral director, boss man, I remember going to his old job and, like, walking into where they have, like, the prep room.
Yeah.
And there's just, like, multiple bodies, but, like, laid out, covered in sheets, like, up to their shoulders, but there's still, like, 4 people or something. There's a number of people. And I remember... 17, I don't know, 18, but I remember being in this room. It was the first time I was in a room with that many people who were dead, and I was just like, it's weird because it seems like they should be moving. Like sleep,
right.
Eyes flutter, breathing, they're just asleep.
Well, because anytime you see people,
yep.
they're alive.
Yeah.
Whether they're sleeping
yep.
or whatever else, but they're alive
yeah.
as a rule. And so seeing a group of people
yep.
who are all dead, what's kind of funny to me is how many people have asked him, well, have you ever had anybody move or blah, 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 or do you ever tie their shoes together so to make sure if they come back as zombies, they'll trip?
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Because
zombies aren't real.
Right. Well, witchcraft and wizardry. Wow. But I do know that it made me feel, I remember staring at, like, a deceased person and just, like, where's that slight movement? Because like then I catch myself like, no, they're asleep, you know, and I know they're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've also been there like when he had like dress people and prep people, and so like at this point, I'm like, oh, look at the dead body.
Right. I know. That's one of the things too. Is like people for Halloween like to go like hang out in cemeteries. Like they wouldn't go the rest of the year.
Right.
Whereas
ever.
I
Wanna go all
don't
the
feel
time.
anything about going to a cemetery. It's like,
I think they're very peaceful.
well, I mean, I
That's-
don't feel anything scary or spooky or negative or whatever. It's a cemetery.
Yeah.
And as a rule, folks don't die in the cemetery. So it's, I mean, it happens, I'm sure. People have died in a cemetery.
Every
but
horror movie would say otherwise.
I know, that is true. But I like cemeteries.
Me too.
You know, and I, like you, I find them very peaceful. But it's also a place where I feel you should be showing a great deal of respect.
Yep.
Like, don't go, you know, dancing on someone's grave unless
Yep.
it's somebody you hate, and then have at it.
Yep.
But I remember when I was 14, the first time I went, is the year I met my father, went up to Walla Walla, because that's where he and his family lived. And his wife took us to this cemetery there. I'm not sure why that was one of the things on the
Agenda.
right, but on the tour of Walla Walla.
Yeah.
But it was, and I'm glad that it was super cool because it's an old cemetery. So there's lots of like big statues and cool things. And I remember my idiot sister and brother like just playing. I was like running across the graves and running on, like jumping from headstone to the flat headstones that are in the ground. And I'm all, no, not okay. You're being disrespectful. Yes, they're all dead, but still, it's just disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's so funny because most things that people consider, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, the word I was looking for was superstitious. I'm not superstitious about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But just, it feels disrespectful.
It is, but I mean, it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. I told you this before, that I read classics a lot. I've read the Iliad, which is about the Trojan War, about 1,000,000 times. But I just reread it from the perspective of the women who were kidnapped and treated like slaves. But my point is, what they did for their dead, like their dead like warriors, they had like funeral games for days. You know what I mean? They built like mounds to honor them, and like you didn't disrespect them, you didn't speak poorly of them. Like it was very, and if you did so, you could be like murdered for it.
Right.
And so I do think, obviously, it's not that extreme, but I mean, yeah, people. That's why many cultures respect the dead. I think it's very Western society to like feel like it's too taboo to talk about.
I am kind of excited because this Halloween we're going to do something that I've wanted to do for years, which is go to the thing that they do at the cemetery where they where they have different actors acting out like different dead people in the cemetery.
Yeah, I love that.
And I will say that the trip to the cemetery when I was 14 with my father's wife really did start my love of cemeteries. Mm-hmm. Because I think often they're so beautiful. And some of the headstones are really ornate and beautiful, and I love that. I don't like the new ones where they have photographs on them because I think they look cheesy.
Yeah.
But this is going to be cool because we're going on the night before Halloween, and they have different actors portraying different characters in the cemetery. And I've seen like little bits of it, like videos and stuff, but I've never actually been. So I'm excited to do that. Yeah.
I'm very excited.
I don't know. Halloween, I mean, this year, the kids want to trick-or-treat. Mm-hmm. We didn't the last 2 years because of COVID, because I'm like, I'm not going to strangers' houses during COVID. Ugh, gross. I mean, COVID's still happening, but I think now...
I was like, bitch, I just got it.
I know, right? But this year, they're very insistent that we trick-or-treat, which is funny because just last year... You know, my daughter was all, I'm too old to trick-or-treat.
Listen, your daughter has been turning into a teenager for years at this point, and she's like, I'm a teenager.
Well, now she tells me all the time she's an adult. She's like, I'm almost an adult. Girl,
you're not even 14!
No, you're not, so stop it.
I'll punch her in the face.
But I have no idea what they're going to be. She actually had a very funny idea, which was to take, we have this little rubber baseball, to cut it in half and glue it to her forehead so it looked like a baseball hitter in the head and have blood, dripping out of that, and then have like a dirty baseball uniform.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a really
That's
clever
a
idea.
really good idea.
Now she's changed her mind. She doesn't know what she wants to be. But I was like,
Oh my God, no,
that's
I'm
funny.
gonna do it.
I would love that.
Hell yeah.
We have the fake blood. I can do it.
Girl.
Pour blood all over again.
We have enough makeup.
God, right?
Between
I can make you look dead.
I know, between our two households, we should be fine.
I want to say, and this might be wrong, but I want to say the last time I went all out to dress up for Halloween was several years ago. It was before I had children. And oh no, that's not true. There was one time after that. I dressed as a dead, sexy nurse.
I remember.
Not just a nurse, not just a sexy, but a dead one. So my throat had been slit.
Yeah, there's an amazing picture.
Yes. And I went to this party with my husband who was wearing a terrifying mask. And we were told there would be no children at this party. So we wore adult costumes, you know. We get there, and there's a shit ton of children there. And I'm like, great.
And you're just
I
like
look like an old dead whore.
You look like a stripper.
And my husband looks like something out of the most terrifying movie. Right? No, the last time, now that I think about it, the last time I dressed up for Halloween, my friend Shannon was like, come to my house for Halloween. Everyone's dressing up. You have to dress up. All the kids and all the adults have to dress up. All right. So I was a dead housewife.
Oh.
And so I was wearing this muumuu, and I had my hair up in rollers, and painted my face to look very ghastly and pale, and, you know, whatever. I get there, not a single adult, not one adult, not even Shannon, who was throwing the party, is in costume. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I want you to know, every Halloween party I've had, so when I lived in LA, I had a couple, that every single time I had one, I said, this is a costume-only party. If you show up to my house without a costume on, you're not coming into my house.
Unless it's in your hand, because you're going to put it on at my house.
What I'm saying. And I'm like, I'm not fucking around here. You're coming in a costume, you're not coming at all. And everyone showed up in costume.
Nice.
I was pleasantly surprised. But yeah. Same thing when I had an ugly sweater party for Christmas. I say, you ain't wearing an ugly sweater? Get stepping.
I don't have any ugly sweaters.
We had to go buy one. That was the point.
Oh. You could make one.
I went to a thrift store and bought this ugly black one with too many beaded, it was like, it just looked so beautiful. It looked like I smoked 2 packs a day at the slot machines in Vegas, and my hair was constantly permed, and I was roughly 97 years old. It was really cute.
I can picture it.
Yeah, I was like, this is obviously me. This screams
You're probably one of those snowbirds.
Yep.
Living in your
But you know, like the old Italian women who still like dye their hair.
Oh,
with,
yeah.
like black.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're smoking, chain smoking.
Oh my
That's
God.
me. Can't
there
wait.
was this woman that used to come to the beauty school when I was there. She was such a crank. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, she was always just bitchy and whatever, but she was hundreds of years old, maybe 200-300. But she still dyed her hair jet black.
I love it.
And drew on her eyebrows jet black.
Hell yeah.
But she was old and so couldn't really see her eyebrows.
Nor.
So what it always looked like to me, yes, they never matched.
I love that.
But it also looked like she started in the middle and then went back and forth.
Stop.
With a Sharpie.
Yeah.
And rarely went over the same place twice.
Yeah.
So there was like spaces in between the lines, and I'm like, oh God.
Listen, your eyebrows don't have to be twins, but they should be at least sisters. But
they should at least be related.
Her eyebrows were like 4th cousin twice removed, girl.
Who were married.
Oh, God.
I think they were inbred. I'm not sure what was wrong with those eyebrows. But it was like, stop dyeing your hair black. You look like a ghoul.
Never!
No, at some age, I mean, unless you are black, because black women, you know, they can have dark hair because they have the beautiful dark skin to carry it off.
Yeah.
White women,
how dare you?
You know, who look like paste. I'm sorry, but when you are in your early hundreds,
oh my God,
and you've now turned to the color of lined paper, probably you'll want to go a little lighter with the hair.
Lighter? I want you to know, the day that my hair has to go lighter is the day that I die.
Okay.
So...
well, I imagine you'll be all gray by then anyway. So.
That'd be okay. I'm okay with that. Gray. If it's light, it has to be gray. I'm not going blonde, bitch. I'm not going fucking blonde. I would, honestly...
I just sit there and stare at my my naturally blonde hair.
It looks wonderful on you.
Thanks.
On me, I would be like the Victorian...
I love that you actually are naturally blonde and you're like, ugh, never.
I hate it. Because it makes me look like a Victorian child who's not going to make it through the winter. Do you know what I mean? Influenza spells real bad. I don't enjoy it. I look more anemic than I already am. So...
maybe that's what you should be this Halloween. A Victorian child that's not going to make it through the winter.
That's what I look like right now without makeup on.
You kind of do right this moment with the mask on.
Listen, I'm gonna beat you to death in a second.
Oh, I can't go anywhere. Yeah, I forgot we have email.
From who?
We have email.
That's not how that went. But who? From who?
I know that's not how that went, but I'm keeping it all PC.
Tell me who.
I'd calm down. I'm getting there.
Tell me who right now.
I'm getting there. Well, one is from my cousin Anne.
Oh, I love Anne.
Remember weeks and weeks ago I asked people to just send us a message, say I'm listening?
Yeah.
Well, apparently she finally caught up because she said, I'm listening through iHeartRadio. I like each episode as I finish listening to it and then share it to my Facebook page.
I love her.
Y'all make me laugh so often. Thank you.
Oh.
And think on things, learn things, and maybe change something about myself. Much love to you both. So thank you, Anne. We love you.
Oh my god, I love you, Anne. She's my favorite.
The other is from this girl who I think is stalking us.
Who is that?
Heather Rachel.
Yeah, she told me she was going to.
Do you want to read this one?
No.
Okay.
I can't read it.
It says, "Hey there." And that's all. That's the whole thing. No. I wanted to talk more about Richard Ramirez because last week, if you joined us, we talked about serial killers.
Yeah.
Shocker.
I know.
Like you said, he was unpredictable in his victims. A lot of the time, he was living in the Cecil Hotel, which is a whole situation in itself. Another serial killer, Jack Unterweger, I guess is how you say his name, lived there sometime after Ramirez. He would steal a car and just jump on a random ass freeway entrance and take it from there. No one knew where he'd hit next. He was hoping to find young, attractive girls on his adventures, but, as we know, mostly entered homes of elderly, which infuriated him further. His first nickname, Ramirez, now not the second one you mentioned, was the screen door intruder.
Right.
Haha, dumb. He wanted to be referred to as the night prowler because AC/DC was his favorite band.
How funny.
So Stalker pissed him off too. Poor Richie.
Oh.
His capture story is my absolute favorite. Doreen something or other is the woman he married. He chose her above the rest because she claimed to be a virgin. I'm sure she was. What else would she be?
Right.
Good heavens. I remember Star, what's his name? Charles
Manson,
yeah. I remember reading about her. She was planning on displaying Manson's body once he died. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I knew she was going to do something crazy. And apparently that was too crazy for even him.
I know.
And Mary Bell was a little bitch. In case you don't remember last week, she was the little girl who murdered the little boys in England. Wesley Allen Dodd, I mostly remember him because of his mustache. He was a spitting image of my dad back when he had a mustache. That is not a good comparison, Heather Rachel.
No, yeah.
But I mean, if it's the truth, it's the truth.
Yeah.
Taking it back to the mandala effects, Heather, Ian, and I were just saying the other day, saying to each other a few weeks back, that we fully remember there being a robber emoji at some point. It's gone. We can't find it. So I head over to Google, and apparently we aren't the only ones who remember that emoji that allegedly never existed.
Oh my god, how funny.
That's all for now. Love you, Heather Rachel. Well, we love you, Heather Rachel.
I love you so much, Heather Rachel.
I'm glad you're listening, and I'm glad. I love that you contribute to our show and our nonsense.
A couple days ago she texted me and she's like, I want to email you, but I'm drunk, so I just want you to know. I'm like, okay.
Well, I'm so glad that she did.
I know, me too.
I'm glad that she sobered up enough to send us something.
I know. Good job, girl.
That brings us to the end of this hour, and we're going to be back next week with more nonsense and shenanigans and
bullshit.
October talk
I'll
about
be on my
and
bullshit. You know what I mean? I'll be ready to talk that shit.
Yes, you will, because you won't have a mask on and you won't be.
I mean, has it really? Has it stopped me today from talking that shit?
No, it did
I
not.
think
So, like, share, and subscribe. Get your podcasting app and, share us with your friends. Share us with your enemies. We don't care. And send us any messages you want to at itwouldseemasthough@gmail.com. And tune in every week. Because we're here. Like the crazy bitches that we are.
We sure are.
So, bye.
Bye.
It would seem as though...